Welcome back to our coffee lounge, and thank you so very much for choosing to stay with us. Now, when you see us seated like this, you know the drill. It's time for the gold conversation. Now, today we are celebrating the increment that our farmers are getting. For now, they will be getting 80 shillings for a kilo of cherry. But what is the challenge that our farmers are going through? That is the discussion we're about to have right now with Mr. Peter Gikonyo, Chairman, Kenya Coffee Producers Association. Thank you so very much for making time. We're so honored to have you. Now, as we start the conversation, it would be nice for our viewers back at home to understand the work involved in Kenya Coffee Producers Association. Tell us more.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Peter Gikonyo, a smallholder farmer from Muranga, and I'm also the chairman of the Kenya Coffee Producers Association. And I've also been the chairman of the Nairobi Coffee Exchange. So the Kenya Coffee Producers Association is an association that is formed basically by the coffee farmers to articulate the issues pertaining the coffee production, the socio-economic well-being of the coffee producers. And therefore, the eligibility of becoming a member is one you qualify to become a member when you are a coffee farmer. So anybody who is a coffee farmer qualifies to become a member of the Kenya Coffee Producers Association. Secondly, we also have a corporate membership in the formations that farmers deal with the coffee. That is like the cooperative societies. We also have companies. We have also estates. They also qualify to become members of KCPA and in the corporate membership. We also have the third category, which is the associate membership. For those people who provide services and they would want to support the coffee farmers, they are also welcome. So they can give, you can give them the platform under which they can be able to reach out to the farmers and support the farmers. Yes. All right. So basically, when we talk about articulating farmer issues, is to negotiate, lobby, and advocate for all the issues that would improve the livelihood of the coffee farmers. And broadly, we look at the coffee production, we look at the coffee processing, we also look at the milling, the marketing, to the tail end when the farmer gets the money. Okay. And therefore, we know there are so many things that are there within the value chain. We know that there are some challenges that the farmers have been facing, and I believe we are going to get into them.
Absolutely correct.
Kuna swala ambalo limejitokeza kwamba tumeongezewa kweli kwa kilo sasa ni 80 kutoka 20. Kuna watu ambao tumekutana nao na wanasema kwamba pesa ipo, lakini kitambo imfikie yule mkulima, kuna kitu ambacho kinaendelea hapa katikati. Tutatatua vipi hilo?
Asante sana kwa hilo swali. Wacha kwanza nisungumze kidogo. Shida ile kubwa sana na mkulima wa kahawa ni kwa sababu kama vile unavyojua biashara mingi, watu wakitaka kuanza kufanya biashara unaangalia mwenzako ile biashara anafanya. Na ukiona kama hiyo biashara iko na pesa, na kisha baadaye unaingilia katika ile biashara. So kwa wakulima wengi wa kahawa hawajaelewa vile kiini cha ukulima wa kahawa. Ndio wamekuwa wakifanya biashara ya kahawa, wamekuwa wakilima kahawa, lakini wengi wao waliingilia kilimo ya kahawa kwa sababu wengine wao walikuwa wanafanya. Kwa hivyo kuna mambo mingi sana katika ile ukulima ama ufanyabiashara ya kahawa ambao wakulima wengi hawaelewi. Na kwa sababu ya hiyo inafika mahali inafanya ukulima kukua na gharama kubwa sana, na hapo katikati wakulima kutoelewa jinsi ya kufanya ile biashara. Kama kwa hiyo swali ambao umeuliza, ukiangalia kulingana na vile serikali imekuwa ikifanya kujaribu kusaidia mkulima wa kahawa, ni kweli tumepewa hiyo pesa ilipitishwa na cabinet. Lakini swali la muhimu sana kujiuliza, hiyo pesa inaenda kwa nani? Na ni pesa ya kufanya nini? Kulingana na mimi na kulingana na vile naelewa mambo ya hiyo pesa ilipatianwa, kwangu hiyo ni pesa ya kwenda kwa ile kitita cha Cherry Advance Revolving Fund. Na kwa hivyo ni kumaanisha mkulima lazima akuwe kuna ile kahawa amelima na imepelekwa kwa ile factory yake, na ikakuwa processed. Sasa hapo ana qualify kwenda kuitisha hiyo pesa ama kuomba ile pesa kabla mauzo ya kahawa yake kuuzwa, na ili kisha apewe pesa yake ya kahawa na aweze kulipa ile mkopo ambayo amepatiwa. Kwa hivyo kulingana na vile mimi naelewa, sijapata nafasi ya kupata ile maandishi ya kuelezea ni vipi hiyo pesa itatumika, lakini kulingana na kuelewa kwangu, hivyo ndivyo hiyo pesa inastahili kukua. So if you look at it critically, you find there are so many things that happens in the coffee farming. One, as if you look at our Kenyan coffee, it is true it is one of the most sought after beans. Actually, we only compete with Costa Rica. But before the coffee gets into the market, there are so many processes. One of the reasons why our coffee is so much sought after is because of the processes that we do our coffee. We also look at the soil and the elevation at which the coffee is grown. Why elevation? Is because elevation helps in slowing down the growth of the coffee bean, and therefore it is able to pick all the nutrients from the soil, and those nutrients contribute into the quality of the cup. Again, when you look at the processing that we normally use in our coffee, mostly is the washed processes, and therefore the process of ensuring that you pick the red ripe cherry, it is processed as through the fully washed processes, and therefore it means that all the process of cleaning, that is the fermenting and soaking, ensures that all the issues that are supposed to be cleaned from the coffee bean, especially in the pulp, it is cleaned, and therefore that improves the quality of the coffee. And therefore from where we sit, that is one of the areas that farmers need to appreciate, that we have good soil, we have good elevation, and therefore it allows the coffee bean to grow slowly, and therefore it is able to pick all the nutrients from the soil, and those nutrients contribute to the quality of the cup. Yes.
Now, that is an explanation on how and why our coffee is the most sought after.
Yes.
Now, when you're speaking about the challenges that coffee farmers are facing, yes, I feel like infrastructure has come up.
Yes.
We're using old infrastructure.
True.
Now, does that affect the quality? And also, what are we doing to improve our uptake in technology when it comes to the coffee sector?
Yeah, thank you. I think truly the issue to do with the infrastructure is a prime concern. It is a prime contributor to the quality, because the quality are basically in two sets. It's a quality that is produced by the farmer, and the quality in the processing. In the processing, we are looking at, if you look at the fully washed process, the machinery under which the beans are being processed, the pulping. It therefore means if we have old machinery, it becomes very hard for the machine man to be able to set those machines, and therefore sometimes the machine is able to crack the beans, so the beans are cracked, and therefore that affects the quality. Then again, if the infrastructure is also very old, dilapidated, then you find that there are some holes along the washing channels, meaning then you might also be able to get some stinkers. Stinkers are those maybe coffee beans that were left there, and therefore they will affect the quality of the coffee if they are put together, because they are supposed to be cleaned and removed. Then we're also looking at the drying tables. If the drying tables are sagging, it therefore means they'll keep on wetting the coffee, and which again will affect the drying process, and that sometimes it also affects the quality of the coffee, because when coffee is dry, it should not get in touch with the water. So the issue of rewetting becomes a big issue. Again, when the sagging itself means that the drying will not also be uniform. So you find some beans that are already dry and others are not dry. So even when you are also looking at the time of removing the beans from the drying tables, then the timing will be different, and therefore you might be forced to wait until the one that was not dry to dry. So it takes more than the timing that was supposed to be taken. And therefore, in that particular process, should there be some rain, it therefore means it might affect the already dried beans. Yes. So there are so many things that the farmers, the processing unit requires to ensure that they are able to follow. Again, also the time. when you put coffee so much, I mean, the coffee is kept so much for fermentation. It therefore means the quality of that coffee will also be affected. And why is that? Probably there are 3 types of beans. We have the underripe, we have the ripe, and we have the overripes. When you put them to ferment, they will ferment at different intervals. So when you are checking, you might find that the one that you've already gotten in touch with is the one that was underripe, meaning it is not yet fermented. But the one that is already ripe and overripe, then they are already over-fermented, which then again affects the quality. Yes.
Na hiyo ndo changamoto kubwa ambayo inatokea wakati ambapo mtu anataka kupitisha apate kwamba kuna ladha nzuri, sio?
Yes.
Lakini sasa hamasisho kuwafunza, kwa sababu wengi wana changamoto hapo.
Ni kweli wengi wao kuna changamoto, ndio nilisema kutoka mwanzo lazima kwanza, wakati kama mimi mwenyewe, mimi ni mkulima wa kahawa, na kabla ya kuanza ukulima wa kahawa nilichukua nafasi yangu kuelewa jinsi kahawa inavyostahili kufanywa. Na kutoka siku hiyo mimi niko na kama miaka 10 kuwa na kahawa yangu. But I have worked with the coffee farmers since the year 1994. So I understand all the business of coffee. I understand the coffee business through cooperative movement. I was there when the coffee was doing very well, and I'm still there when the coffee is not doing very well. And truth be told, that farmers may be expecting so much from other quarters. But what are they doing about themselves? Because I believe in as much as the government is doing everything possible to ensure the coffee farmer benefits from the business that they do, the farmer has the biggest share of ensuring that they're able to benefit. Like, for example, I have had people who have been complaining so much about the previous regime. So when the government, the previous regime in the context of the laws that were being applied, so you find people still holding to the previous regime that are talking about the marketers and the millers. But why were they crying previously? It's because they felt that these people were exploiting them. Now the government has come and said, can we now implement the new regulation, that is Coffee General Regulations 2019 and Capital Markets Coffee Exchange 2020. Now in the process of implementation of this new set of regulation, farmers are still complaining. Why are they complaining? It's because farmers still do not understand their business. When I say that, they may think that I'm saying they do not understand it per se, but why would you be complaining when this was bad, and when it is being, there is need to improve it, you still complain? It's because the intricacies of what probably you are thinking about is not what actually was there. For example, farmers are used to getting support from the millers and the marketers. So that is one of the major concerns that the farmers have. And that is why I believe the government is coming up with a 4 billion to be able to support the farmers, to be able to access the funding to continue doing the business of coffee. But in the process, where the cut-off line is supposed to be, the farmer is still holding, because they believe this was the only best option. But I'm saying, for the farmers, and this is what we are trying to advise the farmers, let us work with the government, but let us not expect the government to do everything for the farmer to benefit. We actually supposed to carry about 80% to ensure that there is success in the new approach to the coffee farming and the business of coffee.
Let's talk about the cherry to parchment ratio.
Yes.
I mean, it's very much determined by the quality of your coffee cherries.
Yes.
You have spoken about infrastructure, using old infrastructure as one of the reasons as to why your quality might degrade. We'd like to hear from you. What are other challenges that could lead to a low parchment ratio, considering to the amount of harvest you're having from your cherries?
Thank you so much. Again, we also need to look at the areas that farmers are losing money. One is because farmers from the farm, most of the farmers maybe are not the ones that harvest coffee and deliver to their respective mills. That is the cooperative. So they look for people, they hire services for other people to do that business for them. In that particular process, farmers lose some money, some kilos, because the people who are doing the delivery, some of them are not very honest. And therefore, before they deliver, maybe they'll split some coffee and they weigh those coffees in their number. So that is one area the farmers are losing money. The second one is when they deliver the coffee, there is that 1 kilo that is usually removed across almost all the cooperatives. When you weigh, then there is 1 kilo that is deducted from the weight that is on the empty bags. But the question is, we do not have an account of the bags, the number of bags that were weighed, so that then we are able to count them, and eventually we can now be able to reconcile the number of bags and the kilos that are being weighed. Mm-hmm. So that is another loss. And again, if you weigh that bag cannot actually get into 1 kg, it is usually the highest is about 750 grams. So a farmer is automatically losing over and above 250 grams. Mm-hmm. So another area where the farmer is also losing is in the process of the lack of moisture meters. Mm-hmm. So farmers usually use their traditional method to assess whether the coffee is already dry. And therefore, when they are doing that, then sometimes the coffee gets so much over dry. The coffee moisture content is supposed to be around 11%, between 10.5 to 11%. Okay. But you find that sometimes, because you're using the traditional methods, you find that the coffee is already over dry, and therefore, in the proportion of the moisture content that has reduced from the normal, it therefore means if you do the computation, the farmer is losing in terms of the weight. Okay. And again, when the weight is lost, then it also affects the conversion ratio. Right. So if you look at the conversion ratio of a good cherry, it comes to about 5.6 to around 6. But usually farmers are, and the processing units, they use an average of around 7. Okay. So we are saying, and we are advising our farmers to use the actual, not to use the standard. Because the moment you use the standard and you are dealing with the actuals, then you are losing out. All right. So yes.
A lot of factors to consider, and we will continue with the conversation on what our farmers need to do to make sure that they are having quality when it comes to their coffee. We are taking a short break, but when we come back, we will have the gold highlights, what is happening in the space of agriculture, and also Vox Pops. What are the people saying in the streets when it comes to coffee? All that and so much more coming after the break. Don't you dare go nowhere.